Future Foundation Spider-Man better not be holding the future for Marvel Legends either. Everyone, just letting you know that all figures found in this review could be found over at bigbadtoystore.com. Links could be found in the description below, and if you guys use them, they help out the channel quite a bit. For those of you who were able to catch it, I recently did a review on the Iron Spider, one of the first out of the 60th anniversary line sporting the brand new style of boxes that I know a lot of people don't necessarily like, but I happen to fall in the minority of kind of enjoying this style of design for their packaging, as well as just the uniqueness of taking them out of the box and seeing them all mummified, but also kind of building a little bit of the intrigue of what's waiting inside. Well, it looks like now that is coming back to haunt me slightly in the form of Future Foundation Spider-Man, or Marvel Legends Stealth Suit Spider-Man here, part of that line as well. And this is also another iteration of Spider-Man based on the Future Foundation storyline, in which Johnny Storm pretty much is assembling his own team, and part of his will and testament, spoilers there I guess, he pretty much kind of asks Spider-Man to be part of his team, but in doing so he has to wear this costume, which is pretty much just straight up black and white, or predominantly white with black, and going into stealth mode turns it into the version you see here before you. And it's a pretty cool paint job on a already kind of standardized version of Spidey in Marvel Legends format, similar to what I was talking about with Iron Spider. This is kind of a similar body sculpt that you have seen in other iterations as well, specifically with that retro card line that I've been recently doing reviews earlier this year. And because of that, I thought to myself, okay, well, just like with Iron Spider, that was also a reused sculpt, but they added some weight behind the plastic, some detail, and some extra level of premium quality behind the paint jobs that it was difficult to kind of translate on video. But that Iron Spider figure, I personally felt like it kind of fit the bill of being a 60th anniversary premium format figure that somewhat, and I really do mean somewhat, warranted the $30 price tag. Can I really say the same thing about Future Foundation Spidey here? Unfortunately not. You see, even though they did a fair enough job with the paint decals here, kind of translating this version of the stealth suit from comic to figure, it doesn't take away from the fact that it just feels like I'm holding a repaint of that standard body sculpt that we've seen before with this style of Spidey. I would probably say it kind of takes pages from either the Cyborg Spidey or the Symbiote Spidey that I've already kind of covered already on the channel. It's that identical body, but what separated Iron Spider was that level of premium behind the paint and the plastic. None of that premium quality that I was praising and going kind of gaga over in that review is necessarily found here with the Stealth Suit Foundation Spidey. There's just nothing about that really hit me the way that Iron Spider did. As soon as I pulled out Future Foundation Spidey here out of the box, the first thing I felt was slight disappointment, because it didn't really feel all that different than the retro card line we got earlier this year and partly at the end of last year. It just felt like that traditional weight of plastic, the traditional coat of paint. And I started to see what some other folks were talking about as far as those QC issues. A lot of people in the comments, when I was kind of showing off that one-year haul, as well as other respective reviews I managed to catch wind on YouTube, mentioned that there are parts of the figure that just felt like they were kind of pooped out right out of the factory line. And even though I won't say this is the worst job I've ever seen, either firsthand or vicariously through reviews and videos, there are portions here and there where I can see a little bit of that kind of peeking its rearing its ugly head. For example, there's a couple of little paint splotches here and there amongst the thigh and around the shoulders and areas where it just feels kind of rushed. And even though it's not really there anymore because the idea kind of popped into my head a little prematurely, one of the hands actually had a little piece of plastic, just kind of a little bit of residue just kind of sticking out of it, and I had to kind of scrape it and cut it off with my X-Acto knife. And the fact that I had to do that extra bit of work just to make the figure look a little nicer doesn't really bode all that well. Outside of that though, if you do like the Future Foundation costume from a design standpoint coming over from the comics, or whether you were introduced to it via one of the skins you get in the video games, like I believe Shattered Dimensions or Edge of Time, one of those games happens to have the Future Foundation suit in there, then at least this will tickle your fancy if you are adding it to your collection because you want to own as many of the repaints of Spidey as possible. And because of that, you will be happy with the majority of the paint decals going on right now, provided that you have the appropriate amount of QC, like I mentioned. Outside of that though, you're really dealing with a similar Spidey figure that you've dealt with before, and that goes double for its articulation. You still got the hinge ball joint there at the top of the neck that allows it to rotate 360 degrees as well as move up and down. Not so much pivoting from side to side or any kind of inclination or twisting, but then you get to the shoulders where you do get a generous 360 degree vertical rotation, extension to the sides, as well as butterfly joints that allow it to pivot forwards and backwards. Similar to that other body sculpt that I've tackled before in the past with Spidey, strangely, the right butterfly joint is able to extend just a little further than even the left one. It's almost like just a simple copy and paste over from that body sculpt, even down to that particular issue. But you do get bicep swivels that do allow the arm to rotate in place. Just be mindful of his bulging tricep kind of getting in the way. And then, of course, you get your traditional two joints at the elbows that allow it to fully bend all the way up, as well as hinge joints in the wrists that allow it to rotate 360 degrees and pivot inwards and outwards. At least they were able to retain a little bit of that ratchetiness that I was able to find in Iron Spider inside of the torso joints. You're able to fully bend backwards and forwards via a ratcheted hinge joint that makes a popping noise whenever you move it, as well as the slight ratchetedness of the horizontal cut of the waist that's able to fully rotate 360 degrees. And then we get to, of course, the legs, which are able to move forwards about that far, but only so far back because of the butt sculpt. 360 swiveling there at the high thigh joint, as well as the two joints at the knees. A boot cut of sorts right there at the top of the shin, and then, of course, that traditional and somewhat annoying ankle joint that is able to bend downwards and forwards, but is only able to rotate horizontally when you have it bent all the way downwards, like before. Of course, this is slightly remedied via the shin cut, so worries are somewhat placated there. At least on the bright side, Hasbro was able to kind of supplement this Marvel Legends figure via the accessories portion of the entire package, because if the QC issues was going to cause some detractors, at least this time they did throw in web accessories. Granted, it's the same web accessory, just duplicated. I kind of wish that they would have alternated a little bit. I know I could probably be sounding a little nitpicky at this point, but they've done it before. That's the problem. They've done it before. They've shown it off before. And yet here we have the identical same web strand just twice. Now, I'll give them credit for giving us a rather lengthy one. In fact, the back of the box kind of made it seem like it was going to be a little on the short side. So to get kind of like this hooking and spooning looking kind of web piece a little longer than originally predicted is pretty pleasantly surprising. But outside of that, you get the same two pieces. It would have been nice to at least have gotten some form of an alternating one that kind of has like that strand kind of spraying out the way that it's like about to attach to something like that, because again, we've seen it before. Of course, you can always use these web accessories to then tie them around the web shooting hands that come standard issue with Spidey. But like I mentioned before, these happen to be the hands that came with those QC issues, specifically the little pieces of plastic residue that I had to X-Acto knife right out of there. And seeing that that issue was also spreading into the accessories, overall, I was left with a little bit of disappointment with Future Foundation Spider-Man. I don't know. I'm really hoping that the Iron Spider that I managed to acquire was not a fluke, because I really do have high aspirations for the 60th anniversary line, specifically with some of the exclusives, reissues, and if they're going to be charging a little bit extra for some of these Marvel Legends, then I'm hoping that they're able to at least match that with a level of quality that I was being led to believe with Iron Spider. But now, I'm starting to get concerned with Future Foundation Spider-Man here, and as such, I'm going to be giving him a 5 out of 10. I know, not necessarily the most glowing review, but I'd rather be honest with even the things that I love, such as Spidey and Marvel Legends, than to just kind of idle buy and have them do this again, especially for other collectors such as myself, especially when you're going to be charging somewhere between 26 to even 30 bucks for a 6-inch figure. At that point, you might as well save up a little bit extra to maybe go for a Mayfix or some kind of third party that is able to give you the proper Future Foundation Spidey that a collector deserves. Future Foundation may be a miss, but I'm still looking forward to whatever else Marvel Legends has up their sleeve for now through the 60th anniversary line. And if you guys are looking forward to some of those reviews, make sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. If you guys like this video, hit the thumbs up. If not, hit the thumbs down, and comment below what has been a great kind of Marvel Legends disappointment, or maybe not even specifically Marvel Legends, just any action figure disappointment that made you go, yeah, this might just go back. I'm sorry. Let me know your guys' experiences in the comment section, and as always, stay humble. I'll see you on the next one.